July 28th, 29th and 30th are not ordinary days on a calendar. They are the last checkpoint before August rewrites everything. These 3 days are reactive. They mirror you. What you allow, what you reject, what you delay. It all locks into place here. If you move through unconsciously, you won't see the trap. Something familiar will appear, soft, convincing, almost comforting. It will feel like the answer you've been waiting for, but it's not. It's the final test. Accept it, and you loop back into the same cycle you thought you escaped. Pause, and you move forward. This window is exact. It won't wait. When August begins, the acceleration is irreversible. What you choose in these hours determines what survives the shift. So stay with me, like this video, subscribe, and type 999 in the comments below. Right now, the cosmos is arranging itself into a rare alignment that acts like a living checkpoint. The Sun stands bold in Leo, igniting themes of power, truth, and self-define, while Saturn watches from a distance, testing the foundations you've built. Mercury brushes against Uranus, sparking sudden insights that can change everything in a single moment. On July 28th, 29th and 30th, the Moon travels through the final degrees of Capricorn, an ancient symbol of karmic closure and decisive turning points. In Greek myth, this was Kronos' hour, the space where time itself demands clarity before allowing you to move forward. These planetary movements create what mystics once called a threshold triad, a cosmic doorway where past and future meet. When August begins, this window closes, locking in whatever you embraced or rejected during these 3 reactive days, and what follows will move too fast to undo. There are rare intervals when life stops operating on autopilot and begins responding directly to your inner state. These next steps are not random. They are echoing the frequency of who you are becoming. Every thought, every decision, every inner alignment is amplified, woven into a larger design that is quietly guiding you toward or away from the timeline that serves your evolution. What's unfolding now is a recalibration of the soul's architecture. The parts of you that have been stretched thin are being reorganized into something stronger, clearer, and more intentional. Your energetic body is upgrading to hold more clarity, more truth, and more alignment with what you actually desire, not what you've been conditioned to accept. This is why familiar attachments are resurfacing, not to comfort you, but to test whether you are still available for the versions of yourself that no longer match the life you're stepping into. As this inner restructuring continues, the spiritual body sheds old imprints that kept you tethered to outdated cycles. The heaviness you once carried is replaced by sharper insight and an almost magnetic pull toward what truly matters. The light body begins to expand, making it impossible to ignore where your energy leaks or where your boundaries blur. You may find relationships shifting without explanation, paths closing that once seemed promising, and unexpected clarity rising in areas that were once confusing. This phase matters because it is not simply about healing the past. It is about stepping into a state where you no longer need the past to define you. It is about matching the frequency of the life you have quietly envisioned but never fully claimed. Those who honor this inner upgrade will find themselves moving forward in ways that feel accelerated and almost fated. Those who resist it will discover that old cycles become heavier, more obvious, and harder to escape. You are being asked to align with what you truly carry in your soul, because what unfolds next will no longer wait for hesitation. In these hours leading toward August, your entire being is recalibrating in ways you can't fully explain. There's a different rhythm moving through you. Some moments feel strangely heightened, while others slow down as if time itself is stretching. You may notice your sleep cycles shifting, either pulling you into deeper rest than usual or keeping you awake with an unexplained alertness. It isn't random. Your system is syncing with a higher frequency, preparing you for what is coming next. The body carries this transition in subtle but undeniable ways. A gentle ringing in the ears can arrive without warning, like a background signal tuning itself. Waves of tiredness can move through, then lift suddenly, leaving you clear and steady. At times your heartbeat may seem louder or more present, not in fear, but in alignment with a new cadence. These sensations are not disruption. They're indicators that you're expanding beyond your previous limits. Emotionally, it can feel as if hidden layers are surfacing at once. Old sadness, forgotten memories, or sudden bursts of clarity can move through without an obvious trigger. You might catch yourself tearing up for reasons you can't name, or feeling unexpectedly light after moments of release. This isn't regression. It's the way the soul clears space for the next chapter. Nothing arising now is here to punish you. It's rising because it no longer belongs in the path you're stepping into. Even moments of unease or uncertainty are guiding you closer to yourself. When old attachments resurface in your thoughts, they're not asking you to return to them. They're asking you to recognize how far you've come. Physical tension, ringing tones, and waves of fatigue are simply the markers of integration. As your frequency rises, the body and mind find their new balance, and what once felt heavy begins to move differently. These are not signs of something wrong. They are proof that something greater is anchoring. The more you allow these shifts without labeling them, the smoother the transition becomes. What rises now is what has been waiting the longest to be seen. It comes quietly at first, like a memory brushing against the edge of your awareness, but it doesn't stay silent for long. The parts of you that have been ignored, the moments you buried under distraction or duty, they are no longer content to remain in the background. This is not to punish you. It's an invitation to finally meet yourself without filters. The mind may try to categorize it as random heaviness, but the truth is that these emotions have been circling for years, waiting for the right window to emerge. Shame, regret, resentment, whatever shape they take, they aren't here to define you. They're here to loosen their grip. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "One must have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star," reminding us that what appears uncomfortable often carries the spark of transformation. During July 28th, 29th and 30th, the mirror held to your inner world becomes sharper. Karmic threads reveal themselves in ways you can no longer deny. Old dynamics may replay in your mind. Certain names may surface unexpectedly, and unresolved wounds may ask for acknowledgement, not to reopen them, but to release what still lingers. The shadow self isn't an enemy, it's the unintegrated part of your wholeness. When you look at it directly, it loses its power to control you from the dark. You might question why certain memories are returning now, why sudden waves of sadness or guilt seem to appear without warning. It's because the soul cannot carry what is too heavy for the next phase. These dates act like a sieve, separating what can move forward with you from what must finally rest. And the longer you resist what is surfacing, the louder it becomes. This is where self-compassion becomes non-negotiable. Sitting with what arises doesn't mean drowning in it. It means recognizing its origin and letting it pass through without attaching a new story to it. You are not being asked to fix every piece of your past, only to acknowledge it so it no longer dictates your future. What emerges now is not who you are becoming, it's the echo of what you're leaving behind. Right now, the atmosphere carries a sharp clarity, as if the unseen layers of your life are rearranging themselves without hesitation. The moon hangs like a silent messenger, transmitting a frequency that speaks directly to the deeper currents of your being. It doesn't ask for permission, it simply unlocks what has been waiting to rise. In its light, new information streams into your field, truths about who you really are beyond roles, beyond the masks you've had to wear to survive. This is not a quiet phase of reflection, it's an ignition. The body begins to register signals beyond the physical, like a soft reawakening of the energy centers that were once dimmed by old habits and unresolved stories. The chakras shift into alignment naturally, one after another, clearing away stagnation without the need for force. It's subtle yet undeniable, a renewal that speaks in pulses rather than words. As this activation unfolds, the third eye becomes more receptive, allowing intuitive guidance to come in with a sharper edge. What was once dismissed as coincidence now feels guided. What once appeared random begins to reveal a deeper pattern. Your inner knowing strengthens in ways you may not recognize at first. It's a remembering, not a learning, And with this remembering, dormant spiritual abilities begin to awaken, almost like ancient keys unlocking forgotten doors. There is also a physical undertone to this recalibration. The body adjusts to hold more light, not as a concept, but as an actual upgrade in how you interact with your surroundings. Your presence begins to shift. People may respond to you differently without understanding why. Connections that were draining lose their grip, while new ones magnetize toward you without effort. This is the natural consequence of an inner frequency rising. Life reorganizes itself to match. It pushes out what no longer resonates, while simultaneously making room for something more alive. It's like a cellular awakening, a fine-tuning of your entire field. Old fears lose their weight, and a different kind of confidence begins to emerge, not the loud kind, but the steady kind that doesn't need external proof. This activation is not about chasing transcendence. It's about embodying the truth that's always been there. You are becoming the version of yourself that was waiting beyond the noise. With each shift, the mind loosens its grip, and the soul steps forward with more authority. What's opening now is irreversible. Once this doorway within you has been crossed, there's no going back to who you were before. The moon is simply reminding you of what was always coded into your journey, a transformation that cannot be delayed any longer. A new frequency is threading its way through daily life, rearranging the unspoken agreements that hold people together. The moon is moving into a sharper phase of influence, casting light on truths that have been ignored for far too long. It's not about one person alone. It's a current sweeping through relationships, communities, and even the systems that quietly shape the collective. As it moves, it exposes what can no longer survive in this new cycle. July 28th, 29th, and 30th mark a rare window where individual choices ripple outward in amplified ways, anchoring what comes next for everyone connected to you. The moon shift operates like a mirror on a larger scale. It reflects the imbalance in the way society has been moving faster, louder, but not always wiser. It brings awareness to how collective choices are born from unexamined fears, from the chase for comfort, from the avoidance of deeper responsibility. During this passage, many will begin to experience a sudden clarity about where they've been handing over their power, not because someone points it out, but because the energy itself makes avoidance impossible. Global energy is rarely still, but what's happening now is more like a recalibration. Imagine thousands, even millions of people waking up to the same inner realization at once, that their small daily actions have been carrying far more weight than they understood. And as this realization spreads, the larger structures that feed on complacency begin to weaken. Power that once felt unshakable starts to thin out, not through conflict, but through mass disinterest. This is how a collective awakening works. It doesn't always look like grand revolution. It begins subtly, with one person deciding they no longer want to live out an inherited script, then another, and another. The moon shift magnifies this inner refusal to stay asleep, encouraging people to re-examine the values they've been living by. It's as if the inner voice becomes louder, cutting through the noise of distractions. The interconnectedness of all this can't be underestimated. When one person chooses to step into alignment with their deeper self, it creates a resonance, like a frequency that naturally calls others toward the same clarity. This is why individual transformation is never isolated. Even the smallest decision to change your internal landscape sends a signal outward. And now, during these particular dates, those signals are multiplying rapidly, weaving into a larger field that touches far more lives than you realize. This collective wave affects not only personal lives, but the invisible systems that govern the world. Economies, politics, cultural narratives, they're all fed by the underlying emotional and spiritual state of humanity. As the moon continues this shift, the old narratives lose their magnetic pull. People begin questioning why they believe certain things, why they gave their energy to structures that never gave anything back. And as those questions rise, change becomes inevitable, not forced, but naturally unfolding. The moon's light, especially during this transitional window, works like a filter. It amplifies what is honest and exposes what has been built on illusion. On a personal level, that might mean facing your own shadows. On a collective level, it reveals the cracks in institutions and beliefs that once seemed unshakable. This is not destruction, it's reorganization. What is no longer aligned can no longer hold. Communities will begin to shift in subtle but irreversible ways. People who resonate at a higher clarity will start gravitating toward one another without much effort, creating new networks of support, new ways of living that make the old systems feel unnecessary. This isn't about abandoning the physical world. It's about reshaping it from the inside out. And it begins with the moon quietly reminding everyone that what's inside will always project outward, whether consciously or unconsciously. Even those who are not spiritually aware will notice changes. Relationships may suddenly feel too heavy to carry. Careers may no longer inspire loyalty. The motivations that once drove people into endless cycles of work and distraction start to lose their grip. It's a soft but undeniable shift, as if the collective is beginning to exhale after holding tension for far too long. For those who are already tuned into this frequency, the experience may feel accelerated. Insights arrive faster. Old emotional weight clears more easily. But it's not meant to create division between those who understand and those who don't. It's an invitation to lead by example, to embody the calm that allows others to rise without force. The moon's shift during these days isn't just personal guidance. It's a collective directive. It whispers that the way forward cannot be carried alone. The individual and the collective are one movement. By choosing higher alignment within yourself, you are choosing it for the whole, and that is the true power of this moment. What's emerging now is a wave of awareness that cannot be contained. The moon's shift is like a silent signal moving through the invisible threads that connect every soul. It doesn't matter how separate people believe they are. The ripple of one conscious decision stretches far beyond personal space. It influences how communities operate, how choices are made on a larger scale, and how the world begins to reorganize itself. During these days, many will start questioning the things they once accepted without hesitation, why certain voices were given authority, why certain lifestyles were pursued as if they were the only way. The lunar current activates this deeper questioning, and it spreads not through arguments or debates, but through quiet realizations that suddenly shift perspective. What was once convincing no longer holds the same weight, and this simple clarity begins dismantling illusions across entire networks of people. Those who resist will try to cling to old ways of being, seeking comfort in routines and relationships that no longer support growth. But resistance becomes harder to maintain as the current strengthens. The moon is not here to take anything away. It reveals what can no longer continue, and by doing so, it frees what has been waiting beneath the surface all along. You'll start to notice how entire groups of people move in unison without even speaking. Friends deciding to make life-changing choices at the same time. Strangers aligning in purpose without knowing each other's names. It's the invisible network of the collective coming alive, as if everyone is receiving the same quiet message. The way forward is different. Now, what makes this phase so unique is how it dissolves the illusion of isolation. You may believe you're working on your own personal transformation, but the truth is, every inner shift radiates outward. When you choose clarity over confusion, alignment over comfort, you naturally raise the vibration for those connected to you, and they pass it forward. This is how the awakening spreads, one person at a time, until it becomes a shared movement that cannot be reversed. The moon's role in this is pivotal. It doesn't just illuminate the path, it rearranges the rhythm of how events unfold. It accelerates what was already destined to come together and gently separates what was only meant for a temporary season. In the global energy field, this looks like sudden changes in collective focus. Media narratives losing their grip, trends fading overnight, entire industries beginning to rethink how they operate. All of this happens because enough individuals quietly shifted inside, creating a tipping point. It's important to understand that this is not about rushing toward a grand future or expecting instant perfection. The moon doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for honesty. It asks for authenticity. It asks for the courage to let go of what you already know isn't real. When this happens collectively, it doesn't look dramatic, it looks natural, like the slow turning of a tide. And yet, when you look back, everything will be different. Even those who have no interest in astrology or spirituality will experience this shift in subtle ways. They may lose interest in things that once consumed their time. They may meet new people who guide them toward better choices without realizing why. They may wake up one day and decide they want more meaning than what they've been given, and that's enough. That's how the collective begins to rise, without force. The important part is this: no action is too small. During the days of July 28th, 29th and 30th, even the smallest movement toward integrity has a magnified impact. Every time you choose truth over convenience, you're not just making a personal choice, you're feeding the global shift. Every time you release old resentment or take one step towards self-awareness, you're creating a ripple that reaches beyond what you can see. This is why the moon is such a powerful guide. It reflects the interconnectedness that humans often forget. Just as its phases affect the tides, they also affect the emotional and energetic tides of humanity. The current shift is a reminder that we're not moving separately. We're part of a living network that thrives when we honor it. As the collective awakening deepens, more people will step into roles they didn't expect. Leaders will emerge quietly, not the loud, forceful kind, but the grounded ones who move with clarity and calm. They will guide by being, not by demanding. And as this spreads, it will reshape what leadership, community and connection truly mean. The moon's transition is a call for unity without uniformity. It doesn't ask everyone to be the same. It asks everyone to live their truth so clearly that the world no longer has space for deception. It asks for each person to contribute their piece of clarity so the whole can finally breathe freely. What you're stepping into now isn't just your personal evolution. It's a part of a much larger awakening that has been quietly building for years. The days ahead will anchor this more deeply than ever before, and what rises after will belong to those who were willing to see beyond the surface. Every shift leaves behind an imprint, a moment where your actions decide whether the new energy integrates or slips through unnoticed. July 28th, 29th, and 30th. Hold that imprint. What you do in these hours carries more weight than it seems, because your alignment is magnified. These aren't empty motions or simple rituals. They're activations that signal what you're ready to hold. Start with your space. Clear it not because it looks cluttered, but because it carries imprints of your past state of mind. Move things around intentionally. Open windows. Change the layout if you're called to. Rearranging the physical often unlocks the mental, and it's through this small act that stagnant energy releases without effort. It isn't about perfection, it's about showing your life that you're making room for what's next. Water is an anchor during shifts like this. Drinking it slowly, washing your hands with awareness, even sitting near a body of water, creates an instant reset. It's not about rituals for the sake of ceremony. It's about creating a physical bridge for the energy to move through you more freely. Take a few minutes to disconnect from noise. This doesn't mean cutting yourself off from the world entirely, but choosing intentional quiet. In still moments, your intuition has a way of surfacing without the usual interference. What comes to mind during this time isn't random. It's guided. Speaking in a language beyond logic. Honor it, even if you don't act on it right away. Writing a single word or phrase on paper can also serve as an energetic marker. Choose something that represents what you're ready to carry forward. Place it somewhere visible for the next few days. This isn't about manifesting through forced effort. It's about declaring to yourself what remains unshaken, no matter how fast everything else is moving. Pay attention to your body's rhythms. If you're drawn to stretch, move, or simply sit still, Do so without questioning why. The energy now interacts with your physical state more directly, and small movements can release what's been quietly stored. Think of it as syncing your inner state with the outer shift, so they're no longer at odds. Connecting with the earth, even briefly, grounds everything that feels unsteady. Standing barefoot, touching a tree, or simply walking slowly outside rebalances what's been stirring internally. These are not random acts. They recalibrate your field in a way that words cannot. Be intentional with what you consume. Food, music, conversations, they all carry frequencies that either stabilize or scatter your energy. Choose what feels nourishing to your clarity. A single deliberate choice during this time ripples far beyond the moment you make it. Before you sleep, place your hand on your heart and silently acknowledge the path you've walked so far, not with judgment, but with recognition. This simple acknowledgement allows the energy to integrate instead of circling endless. Gratitude, even for the lessons that were difficult, creates space for the next phase to anchor in more softly. Finally, remain open. You're not being asked to control every outcome or predict what's next. You're only being asked to show your readiness through small conscious action. These are not empty gestures. They are signals to the energy around you that you're aware, present, and willing to align with what's rising. The most powerful activations are rarely elaborate. They're often quiet, simple, and deeply intentional. When you move with that awareness, you become a match for the shift rather than a bystander to it. Stand with this moment fully. These hours are not passing without meaning. They're preparing you for the acceleration that August carries. What you do now shapes the way you enter the next chapter. Comment prepared for the shift below to anchor your intention into this shift. Share this message with someone you know is walking a similar path, someone who deserves to step into August with clarity instead of confusion. The energy you pass forward multiplies in ways you cannot yet see. And as you move through these days, remember, you're not behind, you're not late, you're exactly where the universe needs you to be. May this transition open doors that felt locked. May your path feel lighter, and may August reveal the version of you that was always waiting to rise. You are guided, you are protected, and you are ready.